Hello everyone. Welcome to the session of STLC. Today we will go through the basic concept of STLC. We will not talk about different models, but whatever the concept we will see today will be enough to understand the concepts, the basic concepts. So what does STLC stand for? STLC stands for Software Testing Life Cycle. Edge, we have seen in the previous video the concept of SDLC. It is equivalent to that of STLC. So only thing is D has been replaced by T here, testing. So in SDLC we have seen testing is one of the phase, but in the testing itself is having its own life cycle. So let's understand from where does it start and where does it end. So the life cycle of testing start from requirement analysis. In this phase, our base document is BRD, business requirement document, or solution requirement document, and sometimes design document. So by referring to BRD, SRD or design document, that means business requirement document, solution requirement document or design document, we do the requirement analysis. That means we try to understand what is the requirement of a given business. As we have taken one example of ATM. So different requirement of an ATM is withdrawal, deposit, PIN change, password generation, mobile number update, mini statement or balance inquiry. These are the various requirement of any ATM software. So we will understand these kind of various requirement for different kind of projects, for different kind of business by going through the requirement document or business requirement document, and the process is known as the requirement analysis, and this is the first phase of STLC, software testing lifecycle. That means testing starts from here. How can we say testing starts from here? Because during the requirement analysis we may find some kind of gap in the document itself. That means sometimes some requirement might be wrong or illogical or mistakenly written. So those kind of issues we can find out, and this is also one type of testing known as static testing. So from the point of requirement analysis itself, our testing process starts. So that's why this is known as the first phase of, or the first step of the testing life cycle. Now comes to the second phase, test planning. In test planning, we prepare our complete testing process. So what we do here, we prepare one test plan document. What are the things are there in that test plan document? The test plan document will have the objective of the project, objective of the testing, who are the target audience, what is there in scope of testing, what is out of scope of testing, inside the scope, what features we will test in the software and which feature we will not test, what kind of data we need, what are the dependencies, what could be the risk, all these things. Along with that, for every phase of testing, what would be our entry criteria, by from which point we can enter to a phase of a testing. Exit criteria, like in which point we can exit from a testing. Then comes the schedule and resourcing. There is a complete schedule prepared for a project, and our testing process should fit to that schedule, and testing should have its own interior schedule also, which should match with the project schedule. So this should be included as a part of test planning. The resources required, like the software resources, hardware resources, and people as a resources, should all be mentioned in the test planning document. So in the test planning process, we create a test plan document as a part of delivery of this phase. So this is the second phase of testing life cycle. Next comes the third phase, design or test design. In this phase, we will prepare the test cases and we will map our test cases to requirement. Map to requirement. So all our business requirement should be covered by our test cases, and this mapping is known as RTM or requirement traceability matrix. So in test design phase, there are two deliverables, test cases and requirement traceability matrix. And each requirement of business requirement document should be covered by test cases. Next phase comes as the data preparation, test data preparation. Each test case needs some data to create a flow, like in order to execute the withdrawal process, we need a debit card and debit card number. So that is the data for that testing. So we need data to be there with us in order to test. If we need to check the balance once we withdraw the money, we need to verify whether the proper balance has been reflected in the account or not. For that, we need to have an account number. Also, we need to know the data of the balance amount. So these are all test data. So we should prepare our test data before the testing. So this is the fourth phase of STLC. Fifth phase comes as test execution, or normally what we call as testing. So by this phase, the application or the software should be ready for the testers, and the software should be deployed, or the application to be tested, or what we also sometimes tell as AUT, application under test, should be available in the testing environment. Testers utilizes the test design or test cases and try to execute the flows as per the test cases in the going through the application. This is known as testing execution. And during execution, all the flow maintained or retained in the test cases will be completed successfully without an issue. Sometimes lot of issues appear during the flow of execution in the application, and whatever expected from the requirement is not observed in the actual scenario. So we raise defect. Defect means expected result and the actual results are not matching during our execution. So we raise a defect. But before raising defect, we need to ensure that whatever we have been doing as a part of execution is correct by discussing with the business, by discussing with developers, by going through the business requirement properly. And once we confirm that whatever we are observing is correct, we'll raise a defect. And the defect goes through its own life cycle. It is fixed by developer and comes to retest. We retest it, and if it works, we will pass the test case and close the defect. If not, then we will reopen the defect. This is the defect life cycle. We will see in a different class. So in test execution, we also produce test result by pass or failure, so that the management understands where we stand as a part of our testing. When all test cases pass, we say our testing is completed. Once the execution is completed, testing is closed by test closure report, where we will produce a report saying these are the requirements, these are the test cases, and this is the execution status, and as per the status all test cases got passed, so the application is ready for deployment. Once we produce this test closure report, the application is moved from one environment to the, or normally to testing environment to production environment. But there are different kind of testing what we will see in a different class, like what are the different type of testing should be done. But basically these are the various phases of STLC. So thank you for watching. Bye.